Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Media Network. It's a Talking Tuesday on a Wednesday. We had to make the adjustment for Dabo Sweeney, who was not available yesterday. He was at the funeral for Ella Brissy, the sister of Brian Brissy. That funeral was held in Maryland yesterday. Sweeney and some members of the team went up for that. He was back today, and we'll hear from him coming up in just a few short minutes. We have a very tight program tonight with that for you. Chalk Talk at 6:35. Can't wait to hear from Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson, hear what they have to say. Mike Morgan, 7:05. Mike will be on the call of Coastal Carolina and Georgia State tomorrow night in Atlanta. So look forward to hearing his preview on that. And it's an SC Wild night tonight with the major Billy Downer joining us at 7:35. He's been out in Texas. He's been kind of cowboying it this past week. So looking forward to hearing what he has to say about that. Plus, I'm going to ask him about those big alligators they pulled out of was it Lake Marion? They pulled out two 600-pound plus alligators, 13 feet each. Yeah, he laughs at me when I talk about alligators taking over the world. Well, there's your evidence right there with those big ones being pulled out here in South Carolina. So we got a great show for you. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We'll try and squeeze in a call or two. Not so sure we can get to them or not because we are so busy today. The Braves lost to Washington 3-2. Jump on some baseball here. Braves lost to Washington 3-2, and the Mets lost to Milwaukee 6-0. So the Braves did not lose any ground today. By the way, speaking of, how about those Yankees last night? How about down, 5 runs to the Pirates in the bottom of the ninth? Got a home run from – no, I guess they were down 4. Got a home run from Judge, his 60th. Then the grand slam from Stanton to win the game. And former Gamecock Will Crowe, he was the guy on the mound for the Pirates. At least he goes in the history books as the pitcher who gave up the 60th home run to Aaron Judge. What a season Judge is having. Has a chance to capture the Triple Crown because he's got his batting average up to 316. So he's right there in a battle for that. As for the football scene, by the way, Chris is off tonight. He is in Atlanta with Coastal Carolina preparing for the game tomorrow. They flew out this afternoon, so he's been traveling with the team today. And in fact, I don't think he'll be with us tomorrow night unless he drops in a little something for us to preview the game. Otherwise, he'll be busy getting ready for the broadcast with the Coastal Carolina crew. But as far as Clemson goes today, Dabo Sweeney gave a thumbs up on the health of the team, and he said he was very positive. He didn't give any details. He didn't say any names. He didn't update any situations except to say they'll release those who aren't available about an hour before a kickoff on Saturday like they normally do. But he feels like everything looks pretty good for them from an injury standpoint. And as you know, they had some players out for the game against Louisiana Tech, especially in the secondary, and had to go deep into their roster to fill in some spots there. But otherwise, he feels like the team's in good shape from that standpoint. He believes Wake Forest, which, of course, is ranked 21st in the AP poll. He believes Wake Forest – he loves Dave Clawson. I mean, I really think if Dabo Sweeney wasn't the head coach at Clemson, he'd go to work for Dave Clawson. He loves Dave Clawson. He says he's the one coach that he talks to more than anybody else. Maybe it's his closest friend in the coaching business. They communicate quite a bit. He's been not just impressed, but overly impressed with the job that he has done at Wake Forest. And, former Citadel head coach Kevin Higgins is a member of that staff at Wake Forest and is integral to the success of that offense, which is, outstanding with Sam Hartman, the Oceanside Collegiate grad, as the quarterback. And Sweeney's well aware of how good the offense is at Wake Forest. He really points to the line of scrimmage offense, defensive lines, he says, are very good. It's a veteran team. This will be a tough game for them, even though they handled Wake in Clemson last year. 48-27, I think the final, and they shut down the running game for Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest had like 36 yards rushing in that game. He has great respect for Wake Forest and feels like this is going to be one tough battle for the Tigers on Saturday afternoon at high noon there in Winston-Salem. So look for a good game there. Tigers are only favored by 7, so the odds makers think it's going to be a pretty tight one. South Carolina had their coordinators today meet with the media. Marcus Satterfield, Clayton White. Of course, even though the defense is nowhere near as good as it was last year for whatever reason, Clayton White is sort of escaping the critical or the spotlight of criticism. There aren't a lot of people, calling for his head and jumping on him. Not that anybody should. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that the defense, for whatever reason, a defense that was turning people over regularly last year but has not turned over anybody except for one interception this season, a team that has missed a boatload of tackles, taken bad angles, and just looked out of place in a lot of different ways, has struggled. But the most criticisms on the offensive side, and Marcus Satterfield said today that he feels like the offense is right there, that it's very, very close. And he is kind of echoing what Shane Beamer said, that they're right there. They're very close to breaking plays, making plays, and scoring points. They just need some players to make the plays. Now, I got to bring this up. I don't know if you followed this or not. It came up on our timeline on Twitter, and that's where I saw it. I don't even know I think one of the players is Josh Vann. I'm not even sure who the other player is, but I think Josh Vann, the Gamecock wide receiver, does a podcast or something like that. They allow them to do this, of course, now that they have complete and total freedom. Players do. They can do podcasts and they can do their own productions. I don't know if this is part of an NIL thing. Are they getting paid for this? But my point is in the midst of this conversation, one of the players is talking about Satterfield and the offensive play calling and said in the Arkansas game, I think they were referring to, in the Arkansas game, they said that he sent in a play that they hadn't practiced, according to the players, in 3 weeks. In other words, they were just, in general terms, they were openly criticizing the offensive coordinator. And my response to that was, what in the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Do you know how bad that looks? I mean, seriously. And I hope Shane Beamer is taking, for the Gamecock's sake, I hope he's taking some action about this. You cannot have players going on podcasts, video casts, TikTok, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Grandmagram, whatever you happen to use. You can't go out publicly and start second guessing your coaches. You might think it, you might believe it, but you cannot go out and say it. You just can't. I mean, you just can't do it, especially a couple of days after getting embarrassed by Georgia at home. I mean, that just adds more fuel to the flames. I mean, what are you doing? That is not what Shane Beamer is trying to cultivate over there at South Carolina. He's just not. And, Josh Vann's not playing a lot. He's not catching a lot of balls. Why is that? Well, maybe he's not practicing hard. Maybe other players are playing better than he is. But I don't care if you're a starter and catching a bunch of balls. You cannot publicly criticize your coaches like that. I mean, you might think this is the NFL, but it's not. And even in the NFL, you don't, maybe occasionally you might hear one of the superstar players. I mean, we've seen LeBron James, burn up his coaches. Okay, that's a different level, right? This ain't LeBron James level type criticism. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I mean, fans who might, I don't know if fans have agreed with it, said tweeted back at him, yeah, man, that's just great. Way to stand up, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's just stupid. And so I would hope Shane Beamer has gotten his hands around this thing and done something internally about it. I mean, I would think, or maybe they think it's okay. Maybe it's part of the development of the full person, and you're allowed to. When you do your podcast, I guess you're allowed to talk about whatever you want. If you want to blast your coaches and criticize your coaches, more power to you. It's wrong. And I know one thing, if I were the coach, somebody's butt would be running some grass drills. There'd be some punishment handed out, and they would not be doing podcasts moving forward. All right, we got to hit the brakes. I want to get to Dabo Swinney right away here because of our tight schedule. So we're going to get to that coming up in just a moment. Let you hear from Dabo Swinney. Actually have a couple of pieces. The first one's going to be about football, about his team. And then later, he had some very poignant comments on the passing of Ella Bressy that I think we should all take a listen to. I thought it was very, very good. We're at the Sports Talk Studios in downtown Columbia, the Dave and Buster Studios. Eat, drink, play, and catch the big games all season long at Dave and Buster's, Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach. Dabo Swinney comments coming up after the break here on Sports Talk, and we will continue. Be right back. Don't go away.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Hey, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Thank you. Thank you for world-traveling rocket scientists, for tires bigger than your grandma's house, for 3D printing research, for artists in residency. Thank you for all the things that take us to the next level. Thank you for playing the lottery, for funding scholarships, for funding grants, for funding innovation in this state. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. Comment here from listener who sends us a message on our video stream. This is from Brent, who says it's Darius Rush, by the way, quote, reporter, end quote. He also adds, you can't have reporters asking a blank, a as in, well, let me rephrase that. Reporters asking donkey clown questions to Shane. And you're right, Brent, there shouldn't be donkey clown questions to Shane. I don't know of one that's been asked to Shane here recently. Do you? Can you identify one that's been asked to Shane recently? If you can, step forward and call in. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. I'd much prefer to talk to you man-to-man over the air than take a text message off the video. Feel free to call in. Since 2002, more than $6 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to support South Carolina educational programs. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Yeah, feel free to call in and discuss that. Love to hear from you. In the meantime, here's Dabo Swinney from this afternoon previewing the upcoming game Saturday afternoon, high noon in Winston-Salem against Wake Forest.
We're excited about, our first division road game. Obviously, we've got one conference win, and that's always great. But, now you get into division play. We got 5 straight division games coming up, and they're critical. And to be able to go on the road and win is what it takes. If you're going to, win your league, you got to win on the road. And so our next goal is to win the division, and it's already in progress, obviously, after 3 games as we're building our team and 1 conference game already. But this is a huge, huge game for us. It's a huge game for Wake. This is 2 good football teams that are both, improving. And both teams want the exact same thing. So, it comes down to, being able to execute and do the things that you have to do to execute your plan to win. And, Wake is an outstanding team. Dave is a friend. I've probably spent more time with Dave Clawson over the last 3 years than probably any coach. And when I say spend time, either in person, but a lot of phone calls, a lot of conference calls, a lot of Zoom calls. And he's just one of the great people in the profession, and he does an amazing job. I mean, they evaluate well, they teach, coach, and develop well, and this is one of the more veteran teams out there. Certainly, his most veteran team that he's had. I mean, this is a really good group. Rarely does Wake beat itself. You have to beat them. I mean, they rarely beat themselves. They've got some uniqueness as far as what they do on both sides of the ball. and you've got to really be disciplined. But starts with the guys in the trenches. I mean, they're really good on both sides. I mean, our offensive line, they played 1 million snaps, got a bunch of active dudes on that D line. They flat get after you. They know they rush the passer. They're physical in the run game. Linebackers are really good. They've always been one of the better secondaries. As long as I've been the head coach, they've always had one of the better secondaries that we see. They challenge you. They play with good technique. They play with confidence. They're physical. They do a good job on competitive plays, tracking the ball, playing the ball in the air. Safeties are good tacklers and aggressive. They're just a complete football team. And really, honestly, have been that way for quite a while. This isn't just, the first year. I mean, Dave's had these guys. They've been in a bunch of bowl games in a row. They've won a bunch of big games, and obviously they won the division last year. You don't get lucky and win the division. And that same group, for the most part, is back. I think they're elite at receiver. They've got really good skill, guys that can, run, catch, change direction, really understand the nuances of the position. Some veteran guys that have played a lot of ball there. Both backs are outstanding. Really got 3 backs. The third back had a good day on us last year. So it's a good group from top to bottom, all across the board, and will be a big challenge for us. But we're super excited. It's going to be our first noon game. So, having that, turn around and kind of as we prepare our schedule of preparation, it will be a different thing. But I'm sure it'll be a great crowd, blackout and all that. But our guys are excited about the challenge and the opportunity to stay in control of our destiny. I mean, we can't go to Wake and win the division. Can't lose it either, but you can't win it. And but you can stay in control, and that's what we prefer. That's the strategy that you'd like to have, and not have to sit around and kind of hope this happens and hope that happens. You'd like to stay in control of your own destiny, and to do that, you got to go on the road and you got to win against good football teams. So this is a nationally ranked team for a reason, and we'll have to play well. Probably play our best game to this point. Any questions?
Coach, Wake's had one of the better offenses in the country the last couple of years, but y'all have really stifled that offense. What's been the key to really blowing up that slow mesh RPO that they've got? Well,
they score 42 points a game, and every one of the top scoring offenses last year, I think going in our game last year, they were leading the country in 30-plus yard plays. So they're explosive, and they're built to score. And it is unique because it creates a lot of conflict. I mean, and then you got a guy like Hartman who's, he's like a coach out there, and he knows where the manipulation is. He knows where the matchup is, and he'll hold that ball, to the last second. Honestly, I mean, we have. I think what has helped us more than anything is just playing complementary football. Because that's been the key. When we've been able to get them out of their rhythm and out of their game plan, just by kind of complimenting, getting some stops. I think last year we had, I think 4 straight stops, punt, and then we come out, we hit, we get some points, and got up. I think it was 17-3, and then all of a sudden, with our defense, it kind of gets them out of their plan a little bit, maybe out of rhythm. And, that's been more the key than anything. We've played a lot of complementary football against them. And so, that's what it takes. I mean, it can't just be defense because they're going to make plays. I mean, this is, like I said, they score on anybody. I mean, they're really, really good. They will make plays. So we have to complement our defense.
All right, some of Dabo Swinney from earlier today up at Clemson. Unusual to have his press conference on a Wednesday, but that's what the schedule dictated for him this week. All of his comments are on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and we'll have a little bit more from him later in the show, talking about the impact of the passing of Ella Bressie on him and his football team. I think you want to stay tuned for that. It's pretty good stuff. After the break, Chalk Talk here on Sports Talk. Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson coming up in just a moment.
is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow is the official start of fall, but it won't feel like it. Sunshine and a record high of 97. Much more fall-like weather arrives on Friday with a cool front. We'll get sunny skies and a high of just 81. Saturday looks great too. I'll be warm back up to 90 on Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. Football season, cooler temps, fall is in the air. What a perfect time to fall in love with a pet and bring home a kitty cat or a lovable puppy. Columbia Animal Services needs you to adopt a new family member. How about this? From September 16th through the 24th, get your new fur baby with a free adoption. Take a look at petfinder.com and be a hero. Adopt a dog or cat. Fall in love and adopt with Columbia Animal Services. Visit petfinder.com right now.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Intensifying its fight against high inflation, the Federal Reserve raised its key interest rate by a substantial 0.75 of a point for a third straight time and signaled more large rate hikes to come, an aggressive pace that will heighten the risk of an event. Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued another grave warning to the West after his country's military suffered a series of embarrassing setbacks in Ukraine. Putin has ordered a partial mobilization that will make up to 300,000 more troops available, but could also make battlefield setbacks more personal to many Russians. In addition, Putin's thinly veiled threat of Moscow's willingness to use nuclear weapons comes as Russia prepares to hold referendums in Ukrainian regions it has occupied. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 522 points. More details at srnnews.com.
You know, it's true. Difficult time.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on ShootersChoiceSC.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, ShootersChoiceSC.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Well, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network here on this Wednesday night. It is time to welcome in two of the greatest football minds to ever put toe to leather in the state of South Carolina. Don't know if either one of them was ever a kicker. I think Coach Reedy was a running back in the day. Am I right about that?
Way back in the day, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Johnson was a heat-seeking missile linebacker, right?
But I was also the hold-grown PAT.
What's the key to holding?
We scored a 2-point play in state championship game, and the score was 15 to 14.
Playing for what? Winsboro High School?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Who'd y'all beat?
Strom Thurmond.
You beat Strom Thurmond. So what'd you do for the 2-point play? I mean, did you stand up and throw the ball or run with it? What'd you do?
Well, it was a bad snap. Picked it up, ran around the right end, pitched it to the kicker. He ran across the goal.
How about that? Multi-talented. Gentlemen, it's great to have you with us. As always, we got a lot to cover, so let's dive right into it. Let's begin with South Carolina, Georgia. Chuck, what were the problems on offense that you saw for the Gamecocks?
Well, Bill, we don't have enough time to dissect all of that, but I know I sound like a broken record, but it all begins with not being able to run the football, at least establish some kind of running game. And as I said last week, I mean, if they can't do that and they're going to try to drop back and throw the ball around, they're going to have a hard time. And it was evident last week. I mean, I think that Lloyd and Juju, I think those guys are good running backs. And I think if they would just, have a little bit, be a little more committed to it, it'll give them a chance, to be a decent offensive football team.
Mm-hmm.
And what I hope, they're playing the next 2 weeks. They're obviously Charlotte, I think, is ranked dead last in defense. I hope they don't go out and just because they can throw it around a bunch and score a bunch of points that way. I hope they'll take this opportunity to try to establish and get some confidence in their running game because they're going to need that down the road. And I mean, and if they can't do it, they'll have a hard time with the teams remaining on their schedule.
What are you seeing with Spencer Rattler?
Well, first of all, I think he's a little bit gun shy right now because, he's getting a lot of pressure. And I think he's a little bit, he's wanting to bail out a little bit too quick. I think he's got to step up. He's got to hang in there a little more. And you just go back and, the reason that he was demoted at Oklahoma is because he threw interceptions. And, he made some poor decisions the other day. I mean, he's got 5 interceptions in 3 games. I mean, now the one on the wheel route, I think was probably a miscommunication. I don't know if he expected Lloyd to come back. I don't know, but he's made poor decisions and he's forcing the ball, and he makes some really good throws, but he makes some really poor decisions, and that's really not a good combination.
And can you teach a guy to step back up in the pocket and trust your offensive line and realize that, hey, they're going to give you some time, just hang in there? Can you teach him that?
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, it's something you've got to harp on and harp on and harp on. And, he's got to do it and feel it and have some success doing it. And then he'll get in that groove. But, once you start bailing out, and now you're running for your life, and you're having to throw the ball, across the field, across your body, whatever. It's not a good thing. And I know he's supposed to be a dual threat, but he's negligible as far as rushing yards. So I don't know, but he's got to get better. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Ellis, the Gamecock defense, and they were down, 5 starters. Like, you got to, I guess, kind of factor that in too. I mean, the guys were starting because they were the best players. And I mean, the best coaches can't put a great product out there if they don't have their best players. But still, I mean, Georgia had their way with them, could do anything they really wanted to offensively.
Well, I mean, I think you prefaced everything correctly. It's hard to sit here and criticize. I can only imagine trying to line up against the number one team in the nation with 5 starters out, okay? But on the same time, I don't know schematically or philosophy. I'm not sure what they need to do. I think they're going to have to take more chances, maybe mixing fires and shoots, things we used to call, bringing people off the edge up through the middle, even stop the run game. They're going to have to create some negative yardage plays, or they're just not going to be able to play with some of the better fronts in that conference. I mean, they gave up the other day 7.5 first downs per quarter. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And Georgia didn't have a bunch of 30-yard runs.
No.
I mean, they're just kind of getting pushed around all night. And, and as much criticism as Satterfield gets, here's the play sequence for Georgia. Run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, pass, pass. Run, 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 run. Pass, run, 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 run. Pass, 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 pass. Run, run. Okay, everybody look at that and say, what a stupid play caller. Well, they only got 24 points and only got stopped once, I think, in the first half. It's the difference in talent, Bill, and I don't mean to excuse everything that's going wrong.
Yeah.
They've got to get more takeaways. I know I said that last week, and y'all are getting tired of hearing it. They're going to have to get more takeaways, and they're going to have to create some ways to get negative yardage plays, even if they have to give up a 30-something yard play because they're taking a chance.
Are you a little surprised that their defensive front is not doing a better job of holding the line of scrimmage against the two teams, Arkansas and Georgia, thus far?
Well, not really. I don't think they've been terrible at just, taking on blocks and being there. But, I mean, they're just not making plays that you got to make even in the box. I don't think they're as talented as everybody thinks they are. I mean, they're good football players. When you line up against Georgia's front and even Arkansas now, they're a good offensive front. You got pretty much even matchups or you're a little bit behind. So what's the answer? You got to get creative. You got to take shots. I mean, every defense coordinator would rather just sit there and play base, but you can't do that against some people if they're better than you are.
So you're suggesting bring some linebackers, maybe even bring a safety, do some exotic things with your calls on defense?
Absolutely. I don't consider it exotic. I mean, there's nothing unsound about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss, you got less people in the perimeter to corral the run. But, it's going to happen. If they don't get some negative yardage plays and get people behind schedule, if they don't take the ball off somebody, again, we've had one takeaway in 3 games, and it was against a quarterback who's not a throwing quarterback on a pick. So it's going to have to change, and I hope, kind of like Chuck was talking about a while ago with their 2-week sequence, I hope during this 2-week sequence, they'll not only try to get some people healthy, that's the main thing, but maybe they'll try to get a little more aggressive, and hopefully it'll bring about some results. I don't know what you do. You can't just keep doing the same thing.
Chalk Talk with Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson. Let's stay on the defensive side, coaches, and talk about Clemson. And I mean, I don't think their defense has been all that great so far. I mean, I know they didn't give up a bunch of points to Georgia Tech or to Furman. Now, Furman did move the ball and had a chance to knock in some touchdowns, but couldn't score touchdowns in the red zone. And then you saw Louisiana Tech, of course, do a pretty good job not running, but they threw the ball pretty well. And Clemson's dealing with some injuries back there as well, Ellis. But this is not the dominant defensive team that we kind of thought going into this season. I mean, we're talking about the shutdown, you can't move the ball on us type of defense thus far. Is that going to change? First of all, do you agree with that? And number 2, is it going to change?
I agree to an extent. I don't think they smothered Furman the way they should have, but they're a good little offensive team. But what they're getting right now, they're getting a bunch of little quick passes and stuff like that on the perimeter. At the end of the game, La Tech had 6 yards rushing, had 3 picks, had 4 turnovers. Now, they did throw the ball around a little bit, and they got the yardage, but it doesn't win ball games. So no, I'm not worried about their defense. Obviously, I know them very well, but they understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they expected all this quick passes and little the 3-step stuff, or and even out of the gun, it's a 3-step or whatever. I do say they're giving up too many throws. There was one receiver on that field from La Tech, and he could play for anybody. But and he beat them 2 times. Some young defensive backs are going to have to get some experience, and they're getting it the wrong way. But they slept a little bit late in the game, offensively and defensively. Just kind of, didn't feel the pressure of having to win the game because they already had it won. But no, you're right. They haven't been a shutdown defense, and I think they probably hadn't been as aggressive as they may be in the future, but they haven't had to be. And I think this Wake Forest, NC State, back to back, we'll find out a little bit more.
Yeah, this is the test time for them, Chuck, I think, to really kind of see what they've got. Dabo Swinney continues to support DJ Uiagalelei, saying he's getting better. And I think we're seeing a little transition at wide receiver with them, with the 2 freshmen now getting more time. You see Dakari Collins. He quits the team, not seeing the playing time that he was expecting. They need E.J. Williams to step up. Bo Collins has been good. But we're seeing these 2 freshmen, especially Williams, starting to grab those positions and be the go-to receivers, which I guess at a place like Clemson where you just breed receivers, it's kind of surprising to see these guys step in and kind of take over like they are to some degree.
Well, it is, but I think, I think some of the guys that are there have been disappointments. I mean, the thing that they don't have, and I think Antonio Williams is going to be a really, really good player, already is, obviously. They don't have a guy that can win the 50-50 balls. They don't have a guy like Mike Williams. I think everybody thought Ngata may be that guy, but he hasn't been. And maybe Randall is. But that's what they don't have. I mean, you've got Bo Collins. I mean, he can run routes and get down the field and catch the ball, but he's not a guy that's going to win the 50-50 balls. Ngata made a great catch the other day, but he hadn't consistently been a guy that can do that either. So, that to me is the difference in their receiving core from what they were a few years ago when they were really, really good back there, or, out there.
What have you seen in Uiagalelei over the last, I guess from the Louisiana Tech game in particular? Yeah. Did you see a step forward for him in that ball game?
I think he certainly is better than he was a year ago. I still don't think he's been tested yet. I mean, he hasn't been under a lot of pressure, and his receivers basically, have been open. We need to see, and I don't know that Wake Forest is good enough defensively to really test them either. I don't know. But no, he's better. And certainly he's a little more athletic than he was a year ago. He does move around a little better. The thing that I think the biggest thing for them has been Will Shipley. I mean, I think he makes the difference. I mean, they got a guy that can run the football, and I mean, he takes pressure off of the quarterback. And with South Carolina hadn't been able to do that, but I think all of that has made Uiagalelei, look better. I think he still hasn't been tested, like he will somewhere down the line.
And what do you think, from what you've seen, of the Wake Forest offense, especially when they run those plays where they slowly, I guess they call it meshing, they hand off, and it's a real slow read, and they take their sweet time about it. And what does that do? I mean, how do you do that, and what does that do to a defense?
Well, I've never had seen it until last year when we saw them. Obviously it I would think would freeze the defense a little bit, because they'll ride it up in there. It's kind of an option concept where you're riding the ball in and then you come out and they're the run pass option off of it. And it was, they're very effective, but they weren't effective last year against Clemson.
No.
I mean, the problem they've got, even though they've got all their offensive linemen basically back, the Clemson dominated the front last year, and I suspect it'll probably be the same thing this year. And Hartman, didn't have a very good game last year against Clemson. Matter of fact, he was running for his life. So it just depends. If they can't block Clemson's front, it's really not going to matter.
Yeah. Ellis, from a Clemson defensive standpoint, when you see that kind of offensive attack where they're kind of holding the ball in the backfield for a moment or two there, what do you see from a defensive standpoint? How do you counteract that?
Oh, you mean the Wake Forest attack?
Yeah, that kind of mesh thing they do where they slow it down.
Yeah, the closest thing I've seen was Kansas State. We played them one time when I was at Auburn. He had kind of just invented off the fake isolation, throwing the ball over the top, and it's tough. I think the thing that helps is you got to get a lot of penetration, bring pressure up front. If you sit there and try to read it, that's what it's designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're reading you. And if you sit back and read that, most of the time, just like back when you and Chuck and I were all about 25 years old, just like the old split back veer. If you sit there and try to read it and be perfect, you get beat 7 out of 10 times. So they're going to have to, I think, create penetration, take that out of the game. You want to sit back and mesh and read all day long, it's not going to happen.
How do you like Clemson in this 2-game series coming up? Wake Forest and then NC State at home. I mean, these 2 games pretty much will tell the tale for them as far as the division race is concerned, I would think. I mean, I know Syracuse is off to a good start, but we'll see what happens there. It's really these 2 teams they have to deal with in their division, Wake and NC State.
Absolutely. I think the big challenge against Wake Forest, I saw them last year against Clemson. Chuck's right. They couldn't protect effectively, but they've got a better third down or pass situation throwing game than what Clemson has seen. They spread the ball out. They're really good at getting 4 and 5 guys out and spacing it. So they'll be challenged in that area. NC State, I think, is going to be better up front on both sides of the ball than Clemson has seen so far, obviously. And that'll be the biggest test in that area.
Yeah, Clemson had 7 sacks. Kobe Pace rushed for 191. Shipley rushed for 112. And Uyonglele threw for 208. I mean, Chuck, I think they sign up for that right now if they could repeat that performance on Saturday.
Well, I'm sure they would. And that's the thing. I think Clemson will run the ball. Just like those stats showed last year they were able to do. I just think Ellis said it, but on both lines of scrimmage, Clemson is going to be dominant, and it would really surprise me if Wake Forest is able to make a game out of it.
All right, before I let you go, Charlotte coming in, they're relatively new program, and on the FBS level, but they've got a quarterback who can throw it and a receiver who's pretty doggone good, and they can score a bunch of points. They're not good at stopping people. Is this going to be a test for the Gamecocks, or you think they can put them away pretty handily?
Well, I would certainly hope that they could come out and move the football and get some points on the board early and put this away. I would think, they need some confidence. They need to come out and look sharp offensively and make some throws, make some runs, give them some. Right now, they can't have a lot of confidence in either running or throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see, Coach Beamer and Satterfield. I mean, they keep, they're very positive, and that's all well and good, but reality is reality. I mean, you have to look at where they are. You can't keep saying how good they are and how close they are. They need to go on the field and show it, and that's what they need to do, Saturday.
Ellis, your thoughts on the Gamecocks in Charlotte? You expect them to come out and play a good game and sort of straighten out some things and get some confidence going the next 2 weeks before they go to Kentucky?
I think so. I think I hate to keep making excuses for them. I think they got to get some guys back on defense. And that's probably the most important factor. And I think the other thing is they've got to somehow find a way to shut down the run and get some takeaways. And I don't mean to be negative. If they can't do it against Charlotte and South Carolina State, it's going to be difficult to see it ever happening.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for spending quality time with us here on Sports Talk, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.
Thank you, Bill.
Sounds great. Enjoy it, Phil.
Same here, sir. Thank you very much. All right, there you go, Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson, 2 of the best, and they lay it out there for you in plain English. That's what I like. I can understand what they're saying when they explain things. I feel like I can actually go out and execute what they are suggesting. So we appreciate that very much. Great having them with us. All right, Pat, you want to squeeze in a quick phone call or two? 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Let's go to Frank in Myrtle Beach. Welcome in, Frank. You're on Sports Talk. Go right ahead.
Hey, Phil, just a couple of things on Scatterfield. I think it's him more than it is anything else because you hear him talk, and it just sounds like he's scattered just explaining it. They talk about wanting to get the pocket established and wanting Spencer to get in it. But Spencer is best at kind of being on the run a little bit. He's not a runner, but he's better at kind of rolling out. They're not doing anything to help him, although they say we want to design things to help our players, and we get them involved and get their input. That's just not congruent. And then the other thing is when he said on the 3rd and 8 that he explained today, it was weird because, you know, he said this before too, on these kind of crazy plays that people have asked him about. He said, well, we wanted to work that in. We were going to work that in early. Why are you wanting to work that in? What is so important? What's your obsession with working something in that really doesn't work that well for you? Hardly anything's working well for you. I would think he would. Yeah, it's just kind of weird that he's obsessing over stuff like that. To me, it tells me he doesn't have the mind for this game at the Power 5 level. His resume didn't say it when he got hired. And I think until they fix him, the Gamecocks aren't going to be fixed.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate the phone call. Tough being an offensive coordinator when it's not going well. But then again, I mean, I still preach patience. You know, I know people are calling for Satterfield's head. They did it all last season, of course, and that was year 1. And now it's happening again, and it's early in year 2. I get that. I know patience is in very short supply with any program when it's not going well. But I say, let's see what happens here over the next 2 weeks. Should be W's, should get some offensive things going, and they should start believing in themselves. And I think believing in yourself is half the battle. And they start believing in themselves. They start thinking they can score and move the football against, these won't be great teams. But then you go to Kentucky. I think Kentucky, Texas A&M, go to Kentucky, see if you can play Kentucky a good ball game. If you play offensively like you did at Arkansas, I don't see why you can't be in the ball game at Kentucky. Now, you got to get some people healthy on defense. You know that Kaba is not coming back. You know Strawn's not coming back, okay? But the others are. So you try to get them healthy. That's going to help. And then, boy, Texas A&M just looks to me ripe for the picking for South Carolina. They don't look that great. They're questionable at quarterback. I mean, their offense has not been very good at all. You get them in Columbia, you've never beaten them. I mean, odds have got to start to kind of fall your way. And again, I see a path to a 4-4 SEC for the Gamecocks. I know that looks kind of crazy right now, and they got to play a lot better, and they got to get healthy. But if you can win one of the next 2, and then you should take care of your business. If you don't, then you don't deserve it. But you should take care of your business against Missouri at home and Vanderbilt on the road. Then you're 3-3 with Tennessee and Florida left. You get Tennessee at home, Florida on the road. And Florida, even though you're going into the swamp, we'll see what happens as the season progresses, but they don't look overwhelming right now. I would give you a chance in that ball game. Maybe not Tennessee. Tennessee looks awfully good. But if that plays out that way, I mean, you're 4-4, and you're going to win 7 games overall in the regular season, which is a game more than you won last year. I mean, that's success for South Carolina. So my point is, you got to kind of take a deep breath, let it play out a little bit more before you start drawing conclusions. Hit the break, and we'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Federal Reserve hiked its key interest rate by 3/4 of a point today, a third straight time the Fed resorted to such action, and signaled that there may be more raises to come. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell says the Fed continues moving forcefully in a bid to lower inflation.
The FOMC raised its policy interest rate by 3/4 of a percentage point, and we anticipate that ongoing increases will be appropriate. We are moving our policy stance purposefully to a level that will be sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2%.
The Fed's move boosted its benchmark short-term rate, which affects many customer and business loans, to a range of 3 to 3.25%, the highest level since early 2008. President Biden denounced Russia's war in Ukraine during a speech at the UN General Assembly. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Speaking in blunt terms, the president said Russia has shamelessly violated the core tenets of the United Nations Charter.
You cannot seize a nation's territory by force.
The president also pointed to reports of Russian abuses against civilians in Ukraine and urged world leaders to stand in solidarity against Russia's aggression. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Hurricane Fiona has increased in strength to a Category 4 storm as it nears the Bahamas. The storm's been blamed for directly causing at least 4 deaths in its march through the Caribbean, where winds and torrential rain in Puerto Rico left a majority of people on the U.S. territory without power or running water. Historic flooding submerged homes in Puerto Rico where people trapped inside had to be rescued. Residents took shelter at schools with their pets, drivers navigated blacked out streets, and crops were flattened. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 522 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
There's some bad news for Democrats in an analysis of voter registration by Politico.
Democrats have been pinning their hopes for a win in the November midterms on a liberal electorate aroused by June's Dobbs ruling by the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. Politico reports that while it's true Democrats have outpaced Republicans in voter registrations over the summer months, they have yet to surpass the registration efforts of Republicans during the first 18 months after the 2020 election. Democrats are further weakened by President Biden's ongoing low approval ratings. Bob Agnew reporting.
After 99 consecutive days of declining gasoline prices, the cost for a gallon's edged a penny higher. National average prices soared above $5 per gallon over the summer, adding to financial pressure on families and a potential threat for the Biden administration. The average price rose a penny to about $3.68 a gallon. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow is the official start of fall, but it won't feel like it. Sunshine and a record high of 97. Much more fall-like weather arrives on Friday with a cool front. We'll get sunny skies and a high of just 81. Saturday looks great too while we warm back up to 90 on Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network across the state of South Carolina on this Wednesday night. A little bit more from Dabo Swinney coming up, plus recruiting, and Mike Morgan joining us here in just a moment. We'll get to all that here momentarily. And 7:30 tonight, it's another edition of SC Wild from DNR with the Major Billy Downer joining us. He's been out in Texas. Can't wait to hear some of the stories that he has to share with us tonight. Our poll question of the week with Clemson, a 7-point favorite at Wake Forest. How's the game going to play out? 321 votes are in. Tigers favored by 7. 50.8% of the voters say the Tigers win and cover. 32.4% say they just flat out lose. 16.8% win but not cover. I'm going to go. I don't think I've ridden on Clemson too much so far this year. I've kind of I've not gone with them laying the points, and I am going to go with Clemson laying the points this time. Wake Forest, I know, looks to be pretty good, but I'm just going to go with the gut feeling here that defensively Clemson's going to rise up and have a heck of a good outing and kind of keep Wake Forest in check. And then Shipley's going to have no reason not to think like they did against Wake Forest last year. They can't run the ball. They'll be intent on running the ball. And Shipley's proven to be one of the best running backs in the ACC, and he's got good support behind him. I think their mindset's going to be to go out and run the football. So I look for Clemson to win and to cover. That'll be my thoughts on that game going into Saturday. We'll take more of your calls on that and your thoughts about that as we move on through the week. A couple of other things to pass along to you here. Let's see. What did I want to share with you? The new high school football rankings came out. They actually came out last night. We didn't get a chance to touch on them, but we'll touch on them tonight. In your 1A poll, St. Joe's is number 1, followed by Bamberg Earhart, Johnsonville, Louisville, Well Branch, Christchurch, Lakeview, Baptist Hill, Lamar, and Southside Christian. In a 2A, it's Saluda, Oceanside Collegiate, Barnwell, Abbeville. Boy, when's Abbeville been ranked below 1 or 2 this late in the season? They're not going anywhere. Buford is 5, then Marion, Woodland, Wade Hampton, Gray Collegiate, Fairfield Central. In 3A, it's Daniel, then Dillon, then Clinton, then Powdersville, Buford, BHP, Hanahan, Gilbert, Loris, and Camden. In 4A, South Florence, boy, they look good. AC Flora, West Florence, Northwestern, South Point, Catawba Ridge, Indian Land, Ridgeview, Westside, and Irmo. And then 5A, Dutch Fork did not get every first place vote. This is sort of like voting for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and some guy decides that I'm going to be the guy not to vote this guy in unanimously. I'm going to be that guy. Well, somebody gave a vote to Hillcrest. So Dutch Fork got 18 first place votes. Burns got none, but is second in the voting. And then Hillcrest got a first place vote and is third. Then it's Dorman, Sumter, River Bluff, Fort Dorchester, White Knoll, Lexington, and Somerville. All right. Let's going to take that call real quick while we are on standby. Let's hit the phones one more time, and we know who it is. We'll hit the phones here again very quickly, trying to connect with Mike Morgan as well, and we'll get to him as soon as we connect. But we go to Tar Hizzle in the PD. Tar Hizzle, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I am wonderful, man. I hope y'all are doing well. I'm going to throw you a little curve tonight. I just, thinking about this, and I continue to hear the banner and everything else there at South Carolina and everything. But in the last year and a half, what's the best offensive performance that they've given? And who was the quarterback?
So you're talking about under Beamer and Satterfield, the best offensive performance, and who was the quarterback?
Yeah. Would you agree with me, the bowl game?
Oh, yeah. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, no question to be the bowl game, yeah.
And Joyner ain't even on the roster for quarterback. And I don't mean this in a bad way because I know it's his first coaching job and everything. And I don't know what it is that everyone continues to look down upon Joyner. But not only didn't they like Joyner came into that bowl game and ran all over North Carolina, he threw all over them. He was accurate. The team looked good. They were up. And it just frustrates me whenever, I mean, things ain't working, obviously. You didn't score any points against Georgia, which Georgia's amazing and everything else. But you got a quarterback there that did fantastic in a bowl game, huge win, and he ain't even on your roster. You might want to take a deep, hard look at your coaching staff.
How about the Florida game? Would you say they put 40 on the board against Florida, and that was with a quarterback who's no longer with them, and they rushed for 284 yards that day. They threw for 175, 459 total yards. Yeah, Florida looked pretty good. Jason Brown, 14 of 24, 175. But Kevin Harris had a man's day, 128 yards on 16 carries. That was a pretty good offensive day. I just don't think they don't believe that well, first of all, you don't take a Spencer Rattler and then have to carry on Joyner as your quarterback.
I hear you.
And they just don't believe
winning football games.
Well, don't you think they all want to win football games? And if they really believe that game in and game out to carry on Joyner was the answer at quarterback, he'd be the quarterback?
He might not be. I just remember when Ronald Curry was at North Carolina, no one would have said put Darian Durant in the game because he ain't a 5-star. But Darian Durant might be one of the best quarterbacks we ever had at North Carolina.
I would agree with that. He's from Wilson High School. He was Wilson High School.
He was definitely good.
Yes, he
was.
And
he won football games.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He's a South Carolina guy. Y'all took one. Y'all took one from our state that, South Carolina and Clemson, they evaluated him and they passed on him. I think Clemson tried to maybe make a late run, but he wasn't interested after he committed to North Carolina. Yeah, he was pretty good.
I mean, he was 5'11", 240 pounds. He just wasn't a prototypical quarterback, but he was a winner. And everybody said when he was at North Carolina, he wasn't good at practice. But when we got in that game, he was a gamer. And, I mean, maybe Joyner's just a gamer, but I'm just saying you can't do worse. You're losing.
Well, he's not even helping him at wide receiver. I mean, he's not playing at all.
Not even on the field.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I'm an outsider looking in. I could care less. They could lose every game. It wouldn't matter. It frustrates me because I think Joyner looked good, and then he gets kicked, basically kicked to the curb. And I'm like, can't look any worse than what you look.
You made me look it up. Darian Durant at North Carolina, 2001 through 2004, he passed for 8,754 yards, 68 touchdowns, 38 interceptions. 60.5%, 60.5% completion, 68 touchdowns.
And he had, 4 Grey Cups, I believe, in the Canadian Football League?
Nah, you lost me there, but I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't follow his pro career.
He did pretty well in the Canadian League. But, I mean, hey, I'm just saying there's those guys out there that are gamers. He, to me, looked like a gamer, and I look forward to seeing him on the field this year. He ain't even sniffed it. But, like I said, it would frustrate me if I was a fan if it was the same on the other side, if it was UNC, But anyway, I hate it for him. I just want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'll tell you what. If this offense at South Carolina doesn't start clicking by the Kentucky game, then I will, listen, and I will shut up and listen to what people are saying about they need to do something. I think you've got to give them at least through these next 2 games, see what happens going into Kentucky. Let's see if they can go to Kentucky and make some noise offensively. You might be singing a different tune after that, or it might be the same one. We shall see.
And I hate to say this, but I'm just being real. I think Kentucky wins by 21, and I don't think they really put a lot of points on the board against them.
All right, thank you. You better worry about Notre Dame. You better worry about Notre Dame.
They're going to score 100 points on it.
And your big mouth quarterback. Yeah. Thank you very much, Tar Hizzle. All right. Let's do recruiting. Recruiting brought to you by Seawells. Reminder, Seawells closed tomorrow. A party that we weren't invited to. But they'll be back open on Friday, and it's a roast beef Friday for their luncheon buffet. You don't want to miss that. Make sure you get there for that between 11 and 2. And, of course, as you know, you can tell people are using Seawells for big parties. Catering. That's the heart of the business. 803-771-7385. SeawellsCateringSC.com. Wide receiver Micah Gilbert in the 24 class, 6'3", 203, emerging as a top receiver nationally. USC's emerged as a major contender. He was in Columbia for the Georgia game, fourth time he's been there as a recruit. They were his first offer, and so he's really got some fond feelings for the Gamecocks. He said he loved the environment, loves the coaching staff, and he said they'll definitely be in it with him, but he's still early, and he's still developing things, and he noticed that, Spencer Rattler and them are coming along offensively. He wasn't turned off by what he saw offensively. He thinks that the offense will be coming along. His offer list is growing. North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Penn State, BYU, Duke, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Tennessee, Maryland, Louisville, East Carolina, Wake Forest among his offers. Not ready to identify a short list, but USC was the first offer, and that still means something to him. And he believes that he's a big play receiver with a big body, and that would fit in perfectly with their offense. 40 catches last year, 534 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is going to North Carolina this weekend and plans to be at Tennessee for the Alabama game. Earlier this year, he made unofficials to North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Wake Forest. 2024 offensive tackle Blake Frank of Greenville plans to visit Ole Miss on Saturday. He's going to Clemson October 1st and Alabama on the 8th. Last weekend, he was at Norfolk State, or he went to watch his brother play for Norfolk State. Midland Valley running back Travion Dunbar plans to be at Florida State this weekend. 2024 middle infielder Briggs Sullivan of Oceanside Collegiate committed to Clemson. 2024 third baseman Ethan Wagner, Aurora, Illinois, committed to USC. And Clemson's basketball coaches, I think maybe Brad Brownell, maybe some assistants, according to Lou Bezjak of the States, they were in to see Cam Scott today from Lexington. So Clemson coaches didn't identify which ones. Clemson coaches in today to see Cam Scott, and Tennessee will be in on Friday to see Cam Scott in practice. All right, there you go with recruiting here on Sports Talk. Hit the break. I want to play you a little something from Marcus Satterfield about that video, Darius Rush, Josh Vann. He was asked about it today in his press conference. And also more from Dabo Swinney on the passing of Ella Brazil and what that means to him and to the football team. Back in a moment.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
If an insurance company is there to sell you insurance, shouldn't it also be there to service it with real people? At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help with experienced agents ready to provide personal service when you need it most. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom-tailored just for you.
Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, Buddy Bridges and Farm Bureau Insurance have the right policy for you. Call Buddy today in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR. And coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
All right, today the USC coordinators met with the media, and Marcus Satterfield was asked his opinion, his response to the video that went out from Josh Vann and Darius Rush, in which Vann, I think, made the comment about a play was called in the Arkansas game they hadn't practiced in like 3 weeks. Here is his response.
No, he came up here last night and was like, I need to apologize to you. I was like, I thought he was talking about a route. I was like, oh, you're good, man. You're good. And then he left, and then someone had sent me a text. And I texted, I was like, oh, that's what you were going to apologize about. I wish I'd have known that then. But no, I mean, that happens. We have a series of plays in a certain formation. This is kind of a base play for us. They gave us the exact look that we wanted, or that we needed in order for that play to be successful. And I called it. And, we hadn't repped it in about 3 weeks, so I shouldn't have done it. But, I can't promise you I won't do it again. I'll try not to, but we have base plays that have to be able to carry over from week to week.
Yeah. His key point, base play for a veteran means you should know the damn play. I think that's his message there. You should know the play. It's a base play, as he put it. So, all right. Ella Bresee, I apologize for mispronouncing your last name a moment ago. Ella Bresee passed away, 15-year-old sister, Brian Bresee, Clemson defensive tackle. Funeral was yesterday. Here is what Dabo Swinney had to say about the impact this young lady made on him and on his football team.
Tragic as this has been, it's given us, the opportunity to have some, real life conversations, way beyond football. As I said the other day, these guys aren't robots. They're not, androids. They're real people. And and they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of y'all are perfect. We all have flaws and mistakes, but it's one of these times in life where you have a chance to have some, deep conversations, and men aren't always, vulnerable, right? And so a lot of vulnerability, a lot of just good life perspective, and I think we all can learn from Ella. This sweet girl. She had written a letter, and she just talked about how bad cancer was. Yes, it's bad, but she said, I have a choice, and I choose to have a great attitude, and I'm going to make the best of each day, and I'm going to, it was just amazing. And then she talked about how cancer changed her. This is a 15-year-old girl, and she's like, cancer has changed me. And then she just goes on, and she's basically telling everybody, she goes, don't hold grudges, love the sport you get to play, appreciate that. She talked about, your family, and telling the people you love that you love them. And she just, it was just awesome. And I think, moments like this, as tragic as they are, we all know that time is coming for all of us at some point. And it's one of those things you kind of block out. But you have to live. You have to live each day and live it to the fullest. And I think to do that, you have to love, and you have to forgive. And as Ella said, don't hold grudges, and have a true appreciation of today, because that's all we got. None of us are promised tomorrow. None of us. Our equipment manager, GA, Noah Harvin. Noah, mom's coming up here to see him last Friday, and gets in a horrible car wreck and passed away this weekend. She didn't survive. And this is, Noah's got a twin sister. He's got a great family. He's from down there in the Sumter area, and just devastating. Devastating. I think the funeral's tomorrow for his mom, and so these are opportunities for everybody, young and old, to truly gain perspective on what's important, how we should live our life, how we should treat people, how we should, process things. And again, just try to find joy in the journey, and find joy in every moment that comes our way. Because we can't do anything about yesterday, right? There's no hope for that. And we're not promised tomorrow. So what is there, like 1,440 minutes today? Is that what we got? So just win the day. Just win the day. And because if we all knew this was our last day, how would we live? You'd probably call somebody and tell them you love them, right? And so if we try to live that way, it makes the whole world a better place. And I think Ella exemplified that right in the midst of the fight of her life, and how hard it was. She was an inspiration, and just joyful to everyone every single day, and thankful for every single day that she had.
All right, Dabo Swinney, some very moving, deep thoughts about the passing of Ella Bresee. Funeral was yesterday, and the situation with Brian Bresee, I think that it's up to him. I think maybe they're expecting him back this week to attempt to try and play and go against Wake Forest. I didn't take anything from Swinney today that indicated that he wouldn't play, that he was not going to be with them. So that might be still kind of a wait and see thing. Who knows, how he is dealing with all this, and how he can put it behind him to get refocused on football and school. That's until you're in those shoes, you don't know how you're going to react to something like that. So I thought Dabo Swinney handled that extremely well with his words and his comments about that. So we are going to wrap up Sports Talk per se as we go to the bottom of the hour break. And on the other side, it'll be time to talk about the great outdoors in South Carolina, and maybe about the great outdoors in Texas, because that is where Major Billy Downer was. He was in Fort Worth. I wonder if he put on a little cowboy suit, put on a little cowboy hat, maybe put on some boots with some spurs on them, maybe. I wonder if he's a horse rider, got on a horse and rode around. Maybe he was checking out cattle there. Look, Fort Worth, I've never been to Fort Worth. I've driven through Dallas. I've been to the airport. But Fort Worth is like stepping back into the Wild West, right? Western, kind of a Western feel to it. Good old Wild West. We'll find out what he thinks about that and 600-pound alligators in our lakes. Yeah. Make sure you check the next time you step into Lake Marion. All right. They're pulling out some big ones. And I'm sure he'll have other things to talk about as well as we hit this break. SC Wild from DNR coming up next here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow is the official start of fall, but it won't feel like it. Sunshine and a record high of 97. Much more fall-like weather arrives on Friday with a cool front. We'll get sunny skies and a high of just 81. Saturday looks great too. While we warm back up to 90 on Sunday. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Football is back. And this year, the Citadel is trying to be top dog.
Get in here! I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Stay in front. You can't run with the big dogs. Stay on the ball.
Touchdown, Bulldogs! Fire those cannons. The Bulldogs are back.
The Citadel Bulldogs, all season long on 100.7 The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has suggested that Russia's decision to mobilize some reservists shows that Moscow isn't serious about negotiating an end to its nearly 7-month-long war. Zelensky spoke by video to the UN General Assembly meeting of world leaders hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin's announcement. He insisted his country would prevail in repelling Russia's attack and forcing its troops out. Intensifying its fight against high inflation, the Federal Reserve raised its key interest rate Wednesday by a substantial 0.75 of a point for a third straight time and signaled more large rate hikes to come. The Fed's move boosted its benchmark short-term rate, which affects many consumer and business loans, to a range of 3 to 3.25%, the highest level since early 2008. More details at srnnews.com.
First,
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not, Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Hi, honey. Did you drop by True Pharmacy and grab the vitamins I asked you to get?
I sure did. And guess what? I even got a discount.
Of course, you used our loyalty points. They're always great.
Well, yes, but even better, did you know that on Fridays, True Pharmacy gives a 10% discount to all state employees on all OTC purchases?
So you used our loyalty points and got 10% off?
That's right. I'm so glad we switched to True Pharmacy. Great service and great prices. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
This is Roger Metz, host of Woods and Water, South Carolina. We often hear shop local. With deer hunters, you can do just that at Verdon's Farm and Garden Center in Lawrence, South Carolina.
Do you need a new deer stand, trail camera, or mineral block? They have all that and more.
Need seed? Plant their widely sold Verdon's Wildlife Mix, a 10-seed blend, or maybe just grab a couple of bags of oats.
They have shelled corn all year long and bring in cob corn during deer season.
Deer hunters, you can get all this and more at Verdon's Farm and Garden Center on Highway 221 in Lawrence, South Carolina, just a few miles off the interstate.
So shop local at Verdon's and please tell them that Woods and Water SC sent you.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
And we welcome the Major Billy Downer from DNR back to Sports Talk for another edition of SC Wild across the state of South Carolina. Lots to talk about in the great outdoors here in the latter part of September, the last day of summer. You would feel like it felt like summer today. The first day of fall tomorrow is going to feel like summer. And then it's going to start cooling off just a little bit. So we'll ask the Major about all that. If you have a question for him, a comment, an observation, something that you need to know about related to hunting, fishing, anything in the outdoors of South Carolina, he is the man to contact. And the phone number is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. I've been warned that I give the number too quickly sometimes, and some of our folks just can't gather it all in. Major Downer, great to have you with us back from the Lone Star State of Texas. What's going on?
Yes, it was a long couple of days. Had a good time visiting our brothers and sisters in the great state of Texas, as they call it. I had a lot of fun in Fort Worth with the Texas Wildlife and Parks Department there. They just do a really good job, and they were hosting the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies National Conference in Fort Worth, and so that's what I was there for. I know you were wanting to ask about that a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more during the show about kind of what goes on at that conference. It's not one of those things where people just don't do anything. It's really a great place. That one of the few times that agencies from across the country are together in one place. So a lot of good information shared there. We'll talk about it a little bit, but it's hot. Good night. What a hot week it was this week in South Carolina. If you thought it was nice a week ago, well, just wait. It got really hot again this week. So, flowers dying. Everything's about to wilt away when I got home. So, we're, we kind of talk about where we are in the state right now with things going on. We are in the midst of course, our deer season in game zones 3 and 4. Rifle season's in. A lot of deer being hunted right now. This past weekend, the 15th, started the ability for folks to take antlerless deer, the does. So your does can be taken now. So that changes the game for a lot of folks. A lot more, people wait till that time so they got an opportunity to shoot not just a buck but a doe. And for as far as management goes for deer, that's really what it takes to manage our deer herd more, is to take does out more than the bucks. Not that it doesn't. Deer's a deer, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to manage a herd, we've got such a kind of 1-to-1 ratio of buck to does, and when you start talking about that, you look at states like Texas that I've heard have 1 to 5, 1 to 10, where it's a lot harder for a buck. Here there's a doe for every buck. You want a little bit better ratio there, where bucks have to kind of work a little bit more for it, and just works out better. But as far as the hunting goes, other than deer season, we're in the alligator season. We've talked about that. Alligator season here began at noon on September 10th, and will run through noon on October 8th, which is the second Saturday in October. So we did add some alligators to a few of the different units here. I think it was in the Midlands here. We added some to that. I believe I'm right on that. To allow for more alligators to be taken. And the reason for that is, there's a little bit of a public outcry for, hey, there's too many gators right now. Our department's trying to react to that a little bit and do what we can to assist with managing our alligator population. Remember, our hunting season, along with our private lands program, the big land, the depredation program permits, are all the tools that we have to manage alligator populations in the state. So we did add a few more opportunities this year, a good many opportunities. I think it was like 100 more tags were offered for alligators this year. Remember, every tag we issue doesn't necessarily mean an alligator gets taken. Folks don't always have good luck. And the further into the season you get, the smarter they get. They hear a boat, they go under. So it's just it's and again, people are usually looking for bigger alligators, which
speaking
for us is a big deal.
Speaking of bigger alligators,
I know you sent me that 13-foot with a 13.4.
Well, there were two. There were
Lake
two
Marion.
taken out of Lake Marion, 13 feet, 600 plus pounds. What are we growing down there?
That's nothing new. Remember, I'll show you the picture. One of the first alligators I took out of the lake as an officer in 1998. Good night. 25 years ago almost. Was a 13-foot alligator out of Potato Creek that someone had shot while bow fishing. They shot it in the back with an arrow, and the alligator's going like a periscope. They'd go up, they'd go down. Anyway, that was a large gator then, and that gator had probably 6 inches or more of his tail had been bitten off.
Oof.
And that occurs a lot of times earlier in their life. Younger gators will get run off by bigger gators. Males will run other males off, and they'll try to eat them. And so they may have bit the tail off, and he lost like 6 inches of his tail, and he was still 13 foot long. So, and he was in that 600-pound range, 6 to 800 pound range. Actually, it was a very large gator. So they're out there. Again, you remember we've got the refuge here on Lake Marion. A lot of the places where these guys are taking gators. You've got a lot of wild areas these gators can grow. Good food sources for them. A lot of wild places to stay away from humans, which is a good thing. But taking these alligators is a part of how we manage population. So there's that. Not to get stuck on gators tonight for too long. We'll talk about that in a minute again.
Yeah.
But also right now we've also got our migratory bird season going on. Dove season's in full swing here. We've talked about that a good bit. We also had our early Canada goose seasons come in now, and that runs, this whole month, September to the 30th. And that is open statewide. And again, that is one of those opportunities for hunters to assist statewide and golf courses with Canada goose management. I know folks like to complain about the goose on the golf courses and in the yards around a lot of these communities that have ponds. And our statewide goose population has just exploded in the last 40 years since they were brought here in the 70s. What a great success story that was. Depends on who you talk to, if they believe that's a success story or not. But certainly it provides an opportunity for hunters to take geese, and it helps us control their population. It's the only way that we can. There's really not a natural predator on geese here other than us taking them through a hunting season. So this is that opportunity statewide, again, September 1st through the 30th, to take geese. Again, migratory rules apply. You have to have a waterfowl stamp as well, both state and federal privileges there to be able to take Canada goose statewide. Also, our early teal just started September 9th and runs through September 24th. Early teal season is a little bit different. Tries to give hunters the opportunity to take advantage of teal moving through the state early as they're moving south for the winter. A lot of times our blue wings and green wings will pass through this time of year, moving pretty quickly down south to Florida and even further in our flyway. The daily limits for teal are 6 total. That's for this early season. The difference is during the early season, you have to wait till sunrise to begin shooting, and you have till sunset. So the legal time is from sunrise to sunset. The reason for that, typically, other migratory birds, it's 30 minutes before sunrise to sunset. And the reason it's sunrise to sunset for teals, they want to make sure that hunters have a little bit more light and an opportunity to really identify what they're shooting at, because one of the biggest fears is, and we know this because charges have been made on folks that make this mistake all the time, is you shoot too early, you're shooting immature wood ducks who are the same similar size as blue-winged teal a lot of times, and they get shot mistaken for teal. So we're trying to reduce the opportunity for hunters to make a mistake and to hurt our wood duck population too early in the season when they're not big enough yet. So again, it's sunrise to sunset for your migratory, for your early teal season, which runs from September 9th through September 24th. So we don't have a whole lot of time left on that early teal season. Here we are, the 21st. So you got 3 more days of teal season. It's pretty much through this weekend. It's over with. But that's kind of where we are in the state as far as our seasons are going. To tell you a little bit about the AFWA conference, again, it's a national conference where states come from across our nation and Canada and get together and they talk about common problems and issues. Our law enforcement divisions from across the country also get together. The chiefs have a meeting. I had the opportunity to go and be a part of that meeting with our department and represent us there. Had a lot of fun. You get to meet with a lot of folks and make some really good friends from across the country and see friends that you've made through other schools that we've gone to together. It's just funny, the people that keep moving up. One of my good friends just became colonel in North Carolina, and the other one just became colonel in Florida. So guys are moving up that I know from across the country. It's fun to see them. But as you talk to these people and these different wildlife professionals from across the country, similarities come up a lot. The problem areas we have, problem animals that we have, they have. Some have different problems than we do. The states have grizzly bear. We don't have a grizzly bear. Got that. California got a mountain lion. Despite everybody's claim that we've got some kind of black cat out there, we do not have a black cat or an eastern cougar left in the state. But they have mountain lions that are in the 120-pound plus range, and they have interesting issues with them and small pockets of population in California in the middle of urban areas. So the challenges are there. But if I was to ask you, Phil, what do you think the number one nuisance animal in California is? What would you say it is?
Number one nuisance animal in California, I'm going to say is the seal.
No. Nice, but no. There's some thing about great whites, but no.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it is the black bear.
The black
bear. They are overrun with black bears. If you think about it, California, what's on their flag? The bear.
Yeah.
So California is overrun with they have so many black bears across their state, and they have human-wildlife interaction problems all the time, and bears that get too close, and they have bear attacks, if you will, where bears actually are biting humans. Not they're trying to eat them, defending cubs, but they're just in such close proximity, and so many bears that people run into, startle. They have, and the more opportunity there for the animal to make a mistake. And as well as I do, the animals are wild. They don't have the thinking processes we do, and they're going to react the way their first instinct tells them to. And that doesn't always work out well for the animal. But bears.
We have lost the major momentarily, and we'll get him right back on here in just a moment because he was talking about some great stuff about the black bear in California. And as soon as I get the cue, we'll bring the major back to us. We're listening to S.E. Wild from DNR with the major, Billy Downer. Back with you, Major. You were talking about the black bears and in California and trying not to get too close to them or too friendly with them.
That's correct. I'm sorry, we lost each other for just a second.
That's okay.
That's their big problem there. We were not necessarily laughing, we just talk about the differences in each state. So, in our state this year, we've talked about that alligator human interaction is getting more and more common, either because our population is not really surging by any means, but people are just moving closer and closer to water. Folks want to have their houses around water, whether it's down in Beaufort or up in Myrtle Beach. They like to have water in their backyard. They like to have loose ponds and ditches and things, water areas with beautiful lily pads and things. And what, we don't often think about is that creates perfect habitat for alligators. And as alligators move out of these other areas, the intercoastal waterway or swamps, they get run off by bigger gators. These small gators find homes in these little ponds and can often hide away where you don't see them for a long time until all of a sudden they're big, and then you get freaked out there's an alligator. But that's just normal, the normal process of things. But as we're seeing in this year, we've had, unfortunately, some instance where alligators have actually attacked man. And that's news we've talked about for us in the last 5 years, but it's just an indication of how much we're moving into the wild. I'm not sitting here blaming people by any means, but again, alligators have a very simple brain. We've talked about that so many times and laugh about it, but the alligator just, they're going to lose in this. They just, their brain doesn't tell them too much to eat and reproduce. And like I've always said, I don't want them thinking about that with either one of those options with me. But just like the bear in California, and similarly, even here, we have bear problems. We have more and more bear problems on the coast each year. Our bear population is expanding. Our bear population upstate. I know people that live in Glassy Mountain in Upper Greenville County and Spartanburg County up there toward the mountains, and Pickens County, Oconee County, and they have been dealing with bears for years because that's where bears traditionally were. But as people continue to move, everybody wants that nice mountain view. They put these nice homes around Lake Peewee and place homes in these nice neighborhoods up in the mountains. You're pushing into bear country. And that's where bears are. And they show up in your back porch, and you leave trash out where you maybe shouldn't have. And you have to learn to adjust your habits, if you will, make sure trash is put up, and you have bear-wise containers that bear can't get into too easy. You laugh at the Yeti, but the Yeti was the big brag on Yeti was supposed to use those in the outdoors camping, and bears could not get into them, which keeps bear problems down. But when it comes to trash cans, bears will get in there and they'll go eat what's easiest. And so that's a common problem for us as well, even though we don't have near the population I don't think that California has. But again, similarities there. But with alligators, same thing. We continue to move into the outdoors, and we can't expect not to have more interaction with the wild. And sometimes that, unfortunately, when you have an animal like an alligator, 10 foot long, and they don't have a whole lot of brain power there, they're going to make the wrong choice. And as an agency, we are continually having to manage wildlife and people. And probably one of the hardest things for an agency to do across the country is to manage people and public opinion when it comes to wildlife. Folks want a beautiful wild scenery. They want to see that bear at a distance, but they don't like it when it's in their trash can or eating out the bird feeder. And you get to other states like Colorado, they have elk problems coming into the back of neighborhoods eating out of the hummingbird feeder.
Elk. You said elk.
Elk. I said elk.
Okay, but now
elk eat out of a hummingbird feeder.
I, as a property owner, I wouldn't be too upset if elk were walking through my yard versus a black bear or a bear, whatever it happens to be. I mean, the bear would be kind of scary. What do you advise homeowners that, look in their backyard and there's a bear back there having his way?
Well, when you say having his way, the bear's ambling through. He's in his habitat. You moved in with a home, particularly. Basically, give that bear his space. In South Carolina, we typically have not had a real bad bear interaction or aggressive actions toward humans with bears. And typically, our bears in this state act like deer. You've heard me say that before on the show. Basically, just like a deer, if you startle a bear, they pretty much run off.
Mm-hmm.
They see you, they're going to run the other direction. Now, the difference is if you have a sow, a female bear with cubs, her first instinct is going to protect this cub just like we would protect our young. And that's when you have a problem with wildlife. Sometimes they make a choice, and they're like, whoa, I'm protecting my young. Again, giving them space, with black bear pretty much, being loud as you're walking through the woods. If you're in bear areas in the mountains, the biggest thing is, they talk about being bear wise is being loud so you don't startle a bear so they hear you coming before you get there. They're going to run off before you get to them. That's the biggest thing on hiking trails in Appalachian Trail and around the state where we have bears, just being loud so they can hear you before you get to them. A bear that gets startled, that feels cornered, is a bear that might choose to turn and come at you to, back the threat up, so to speak. Now, again, when you talk about grizzlies and things in Alaska, they have this problem all the time. Colorado, our Western brothers and sisters out there who have grizzly bear, they have that kind of problem because grizzly bears They tell you to be loud, so they know you're coming. Grizzly bear, you don't want to startle, because when you startle a grizzly bear, they react completely different, much more aggressive than a black bear. So I don't want to scare folks listening to the radio. Black bear, and again, in this state, are not aggressive typically, and so there's something you can see from a distance. But if you see a bear in your backyard, stay out of the backyard.
Well, I can
let him go.
I promise you one thing: I'm not stepping in my backyard if a black bear happened to wander through northeast Columbia. He can have it. He can have the yard, the house, the car, the wife, and everything. I'm out of there.
And typically, we have seen pretty much bear in every county in the state. We've had a bear sighting. That doesn't mean that bears stay there. We've talked about this before. Our bears are typically mostly in the coastal plain, and then up in the upstate, in the mountain areas, are where bears are in our state. We do have a bear season coming up, and we'll probably get a show next month and get one of our biologists to come talk about bear on the phone with us about bears. Would be pretty interesting, I think. But bear season starts October the 17th in Game Zone 1, in Game Zone 2, and in Game Zone 4. And those are based on a quota the department sets, and you have tags that you purchase for bear. To hunt bear, you have to have a tag, and those tags are available for residents. They cost $25 and $100 for non-residents. And basically, when you purchase a tag, it gives you the ability to hunt a bear in the open areas, Game Zone 1, Game Zone 2, Game Zones 4, and we have a quota. You have to report. There's a reporting function on that. And when we reach the quota for bear in that area, we shut the season off. So there's a requirement there to kind of be in touch, to kind of listen. And we have a requirement. We put it out there to let folks know, hey, season's closed. We don't want to take too many bears. But in Game Zone 4, our quota is 30 bears. That's Georgetown, Horry, Marion, and Williamsburg County. The Game Zone 2, it's 20 bears. That's Spartanburg, Greenville, Oconee, Pickens County, south of Game Zone 1. And then in Game Zone 1, there's a little bit different up there. Statewide limit of 1 bear per hunter on there, and that October season is 17th to 23rd there. It does follow the 17th through the 30th in Game Zone 2, and 17th through the 30th in Game Zone 4, or until the quota is met. So it may not go through the end of October. If in the first week we take the number of bears that need to be taken in the area, they're going to shut the season down. It may sound confusing, but that's how we control the bear season, because it's a little bit of a curve right now, kind of riding that curve to see where we need to be.
So again, when you reach that quota across that region, how does the word go out to the hunters? How do they know that they've reached the quota there and you can't take anymore?
Well, so we do. So when you sign up, you have the bear tags. We don't have a system where we're using to on the web. We ask hunters to call in. There's a 1-844 number, SC1 Bear, and then through our new app now, the Go Outdoors SC app, they're going to be using that to inform hunters as well, because the app is going to be how you report bears anyway, and that'll be on there to show you, hey, bear season. That's one of the ways we'll be looking at how to let people know that. But again, we'll get into that next show.
Okay.
We'll have a bear show.
Okay.
And we'll get some more information on that.
Well, that sounds great. This was fantastic. Real quick, got about 30 seconds. Did you ride any horses while you were out in Texas?
I did not, but I did get to see the Daily Cattle Drive downtown Fort Worth at the stockyard, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
To see the longhorns there. Texas is such a beautiful state. Everything's bigger in Texas. Ooh. The horns are way longer. Some of those longhorns their horns were 10 feet wide.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow.
Yeah. That was tremendous. But it was a lot of fun to see those folks there, and to kind of be got watching rodeo on TV, and we were watching a game in the rodeo, and the crowd started cheering in the bar. We thought they were cheering for the game. Nope, they were cheering for the rodeo.
Hey, great to have you back. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks and talk more bear. Great hearing from you, Major. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That is it for SC Wild from DNR on Sports Talk. Thank you, Major Billy Downer. Thank you, Pat Daniel. Thanks to all of you. Have a great night, everybody. Try and bear it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.